This will sound negative, but it's not intended to be negative because I know and trust AWS. But like this AI functionality is to replace PDMs. And as a partner, I've had a lot of PDMs and I've had terrible PDMs and I've had good PDMs and
Yeah.
great PDMs. This is probably like a worse knowledge and capability than even the worst PDM at AWS. But it has the opportunity, just like hiring a human with no experience, to get better.
I def
But your experience and others' experiences right now are like, this is borderline unusable. But it's a V1, and like, you got to get something out the door to fill the gap of the human gap you have,
yeah.
and it'll get smarter, it'll train better, and I think it will get to a point where maybe it's V2 or V4 or something like that will be have some value, but I think right now it doesn't have a ton of value, and the risk is that nobody uses it so that they can't teach it to be any smarter,
Yeah.
or they don't index it on the right stuff, or they're not getting enough thumbs down in their RAG processes to know that this is just not usable. And I always find this, I'll bring this back to AWS, like it's a balancing act, right? Because they are my best friends and my top partner. So how do I tell them it sucks without hurting their feelings, right? Because a lot of people worked really hard to deliver this stuff. So
Yeah.
I think honest feedback is important, but I'll also like, I don't want to not tell them, but I because I want them to get better and they need that feedback. But it's like it's you have to expect it. You and I always Beyond Co-sell is basically called expectations 101, right? This job, as we've talked about, beyond co-sell, but it's funny, everything is about selling and expectations. So it all starts with probably expectations and selling, but it's the way I talk about it in the podcast I recorded yesterday or the fireside chat or whatever, there's a bunch of things that you have to do. There's things that AWS wants you to do. There's things my company wants me to do. There's things that I want to do that probably help both those things or make my team more valuable to the company. And if I just look at the tasks and the things that have to get done, I can look at them like there's a bunch of stuff that is low value that has to be done, but nobody cares about. And then there's other stuff that's probably more strategic or higher value. Like, yeah, we would love to spend more of our time and efforts on those things, but time is finite.
Yeah.
So you either need more hands on the keyboards, which requires a business case and budget and that and outcomes, or you figure out how to be the most efficient with your time. So
Yeah.
for me, this conversation about wisdom and experience, I kind of know what this thing looks like year two, year three, year five. Like I already have a vision of what the marathon looks like in 26.2 miles, but I don't have everything like some of the things I want to do, I might not be able to do to year two and three because the rest of the infrastructure business. But some of the stuff I know I need to do, it's not beyond co-sell. Sometimes it is co-sell. Sometimes it's basic enablement. Sometimes we've got 100 sales reps. We're going to have 101 and then 103. And so how do I get to them? How do I enable them? How do they know we exist? Like all of this stuff is really hard.
Mm.
And so some of the automation and workflow that I've used over the years is even around that very basic, simple context, which is when a new sales rep comes through the front door, how do I get to them first? How do I get to them before my GSI team, before my other partner team, before anything else? How do I get to them first? And I'm not ops, I'm not onboarding people, I'm not our enablement team. Like I could weave my own into their things, but I have another way that I've done it. And so that's what I wanted to kind of share one of these workflows.
Nice.
Now, unlike N8N, I don't write code and I don't
Yeah.
really want to play around with a copilot to write me code, but I did start using Zapier many years ago. And
Yep.
there's other tools like Zapier, but Zapier is a great tool for this. It's orchestration. And
Yep.
orchestration is taking some business process and mapping it to like what are the tasks and activities, which is ultimately automation. And the beauty here is it can even start using AI in this automation as well. So for me, when I get to a company, it's like, do they already own Zapier? Good news, the last two companies are like, oh yeah, we already own it. Our marketing ops teams use it. And I was like, fantastic. How do I get access? How do I connect things? By the way, easier said than done.
Yeah.
Getting access, getting through IT, onboarding, like it took me a couple months. This sounds easy. It is freaking not, just like anything else. Like go on board Marketplace into your company and tell me how easy it was. It's not technically hard. It's people process hard,
Yeah. Yeah.
culture, change management. So this one, very simple. We use Salesforce like everyone.
Hmm.
This trigger, I'm watching Salesforce. We use Salesforce for a lot of things. Our sales team, turns out our customer success portal, our partner portal, like every time a new user gets added to those things too, they get a Salesforce. So we're actually using Salesforce and IAM and Salesforce to like unlock our partner port, like a bunch of other stuff. So there's a lot of
Wow.
users that get added to our Salesforce instance. That's new for me, but not impossible. I'll just talk through it. I'm watching Salesforce, and every time a new user gets added to Salesforce, my Zapier flow triggers. Wake up. Then what I'm looking for is a filtering condition. This isn't complicated, but I had to go kind of dig around and I started to look for, this is a test, but I started to look for um, whether the user is a partner customer, but I was looking that they have at Kong HQ in the domain, meaning they work here. So
Yeah.
that's what that filter does. And then under that, if they do, I built another filter that says, is their role, because I had to go figure this out. So I'm kind of dinging around Salesforce and the different users or database. You can run queries to Salesforce. And I found out that if you're a sales rep at Kong, your title is either AE or account executive. So this filter here just says, oh, cool. They're either an A, it either says AE or account executive. So I find that population, new
Hmm.
user looks like this, at this company looks like this. And then if that's them, I need to go find them in Slack. But as our onboarding process, they got email, they got Slack, they got Zoom, just like they're getting onboarded.
Yeah.
So once I find them in Slack, well, then what I do is I add them to this group that I have that's called Ask Cloud Partnerships or Ask Cloud Alliances.
Nice.
And that's a group where I've centralized in Slack that. So now I can go back and go, oh, add all my sales reps to this channel. But the hard part is like, how do I know a new channel got hired? What's the maintenance of that channel stuff? This is doing it automatically. As soon as you join the company, boom, you get added to my channel. And then in my channel, I can do a simple like, hey, welcome to Kong. This is me and the team. Here's some basic enablement on how to partner with the cloud providers or with AWS. Uh, and I can like curate this. I can also get them, like a lot of our other Ask channels, is like, here's an access to my team. This is where we have Q&A. And so what happens is now I have a centralized place where people can say, hey, how do I sell through the marketplace? How do I do this? How do I do that? And I can centralize all my enablement and all of that stuff. So let's go baby steps, crawl, walk, run. Can I
Yeah.
get them into a central place? Do I not have to do it manually? Crawl. This is the
Yeah.
crawl one. Well, here's another one. These link. So now turns out we have a bunch of enablement. We don't have a lot. There's not a big FAQ. There's not a lot of questions and answers. So AI is awesome if it has a corpus of data to learn on to answer questions. Now, I don't want it to go read the public web and say, "Oh, this is how you answer this," or point to some AWS doc. It's not helpful. Like we started this conversation, I will lose my audience if they
Yeah.
get bad answers.
Yeah.
So the reality is, you're right. I would love to have a bot answer the 95 or 80% of the questions that we commonly get asked. But how do I teach that bot to know the answer? Now, if you think like I do, when I start a job or when I start alliances, I'll pretty much try to document everything I do because I'm already thinking of like at some point I get a digital twin or the AI is going to answer my questions for me so I don't have to do it myself.
Yeah.
But that corpus of data, what I did at my last company, I can't lift and shift those answers and apply them here because they don't apply. Everything is bespoke. So, that being said, this is another flow. So, what does this do? This flow watches that channel that I built. And when I add an emoji to anything in that channel, in this case, I just use the plus sign,
Yep.
it triggers this, wake up. Well, what does it do? This is a very simple, this is where I'm using AI as an example. So this is a, simple ChatGPT 40. I'm saying, hey, go read the text, go read that channel thread. And I'm saying, hey, you're an expert. Your job's to write this FAQ. Go read this thing. Clearly, do this, do that. And then I want you to go write it to this document. Oh,
Nice.
hey, what does the AWS Marketplace purchase of Klong include? Oh, it includes this and this. What was the last one? Oh, it's down here. It was this long question about what do you get when you buy something from Microsoft Azure, like what does it do? Oh, hey, when they purchase through this, here's the steps, here's the whatever. How do we close a marketplace deal? This, that, the other. So I'm basically using this thing to go write that document. Pretty simple. Write to that document, append it, take the answer, shove it in there. Why? Exactly what you said. At some point, I'll just wrap a bot in this where its corpus of data is any other enablement we've built, but that's actually going to be the more likely way that it's going to be able to figure out it's called semantic caching
Yep.
in the AI world. Like you just asked me a question about marketplace listing fees, but maybe you asked how much does it cost to sell through the marketplace? The reality is that's the exact same answer, but you asked a different question, but it's the exact same answer. So
Yep.
what AI can do, actually, this is something that Kong does as our own technology, but we do semantic routing, semantic caching. That's one of those things too, is like it actually is cheaper if I cache those answers so that I don't have to run more tokens and the time to go back and ask the LLM. In this case, it doesn't matter. I'll hit the LLM again, but I want my chat bot to be pretty smart and just say, oh, yeah, like they're just trying to figure out what's the percentage of the listing fee to sell through AWS Marketplace. And there's two answers or a few answers, right? But I just think that's kind of where I'm headed. So all these questions that we get asked, the third piece is reprogramming. So that means that me and my team, when someone sends me a Slack one-on-one, and now my team one-on-one, I don't answer them. I copy that Slack, I move it to the channel, I tag that person that asked me, and I answer it in the channel. When I'm
Nice.
done, now I think of it like, don't just answer Susie Smith about like marketplace listing fees or point her to a doc. I'm actually taking that. Great question. Here's the answer. Hashtag plus sign or, emoji plus sign. Boom, wrote it to my doc. So
Simple,
I know where
simple,
the end
easy.
state is, but I gotta baby step into it, which means I want to build an AI bot, but I need to I need to feed it data. And that's what we're up to.
Yeah, I love it. So basically, you're taking mind share. You're in essence programming or reprogramming your salespeople with the information you've got. It's, I love it. I think that's genius.
When I was trying to learn this, went to YouTube, watched a bunch of videos, none of my use cases, of course, but just like, how do you do this? How those formatting things or those transforms or the filters, like, I want this. How would I do that? Actually, nowadays, you can just go straight to Google search and it literally will tell you step one, step two, do this, use this formatter. Here's your thing. They've put all that AI in Zapier. So now I can go to Zapier at the top and say, I need to build a workflow that goes to Salesforce, does this, and it'll actually build all of the steps. It's usually wrong. That's the problem. But it might lay out connected steps, and you're like, okay, well, that's wrong, but like maybe I can tweak this, or I don't need that, or it's a guide. And so
Yep.
I think we're right back to that original question. It gets you
Yep.
started.
Yep.
And if you're curious and you want to learn, you can learn this stuff.
But ultimately, full circle, I think it requires an understanding and some wisdom around what you're trying to achieve as an outcome,
This
rather than
stuff is
just
only as good as you knowing what the race looks like.
exactly, and then setting expectations as well around that.